We will continue our lessons. Last lesson we talked about it was fundamental force in nature. Today we will speak about a combined force to motion in lesson 2, unit 2. Firstly, what is meant by a combined force to motion? This means that the force that's coming with motion. Okay, before we spoke about a combined force with motion, we spoke before the meaning of force. Okay, I have two types of a combined force to motion. First one, force originate, as you can see. Force originate due to the motion, and force cause motion. So I have two types of a combined force to motion. Force originate due to the motion, and force cause motion. First one, force originate due to the motion. This means force coming due to the motion. And second one is the force cause motion or lead to motion. Okay. From example of force originate due to the motion is the force of inertia and friction force, and from the force cause motion force inside living organism. Firstly, we'll speak about inertia. Number one, I want you to know the first one of force originate due to the motion is inertia force. Before we know the meaning of inertia, we will do some activity and notice some phenomena occur to us. What is this phenomena? For example, try to think about why passenger in this picture, why passenger or driver in this picture in a moving bus rushed forward. Why? Again, why passenger or driver in a moving bus rushed forward when the driver suddenly stopped? Driver of the bus suddenly stopped. Why passenger move forward? What is the reason for this phenomena? We spoke before about that the object has two states: static state or rest state or motion state. Okay. Here we have the passenger in a motion state inside the bus. But when the bus suddenly stops, a force of inertia appears in the form of rushing a passenger forward. Why passenger rush forward? To resist the sudden change, اللي هو stopping of the car in passenger state. Okay, again, the passenger in a motion state inside bus. But when the bus suddenly stops, a force of inertia appears in the form of rushing passenger forward. Why? To resist the sudden stopping of the bus. So why inertia force appears? To maintain or to keep the state of motion. تمام كده؟ معنى ايه الكلام ده يا جماعه؟ هي الانرشيا دي بتظهر، هي قوه بتظهر اثناء، يعني هنا هو بيقول لك المثال دي تظهر ليه. انا بديك مثال على الانرشيا فورس، اللي انت مثلا انت راكب باص او راكب عربيه وبتتحرك، فانت جسمك في حاله الموشن اثناء حركه الباص ده او حركه العربيه. يبدا مره واحده الباسنجر الركاب دول، لو الباص ده وقف عمل صادم ستوب، وقف مره واحده، هتلاقي ايه؟ نفسك طلعت لقدام، موف فورورد. وايه السبب ده؟ ايه اللي حصل؟ الانرشيا فورس تظهر في الوقت ده في شكل ان انت تطلع قدام. ليه؟ عشان تحافظ تو كيب او مينتين الستيت بتاعتك اللي هي ستيت اوف موشن. تمام كده؟ طيب and we have a questions here. I ask give reason. Rushed passenger forward when the driver suddenly stopped. You will answer, we will answer. هتقول ايه بقى بالظبط؟ هتقول due to the inertia force that maintains the state of motion. يبقى inertia يا جماعه هي اللي عملت rushing الباسنجر forward. يعني نكتب بالظبط ليه الانسر بتاعتها. يبقى due to the inertia force that maintains the state of motion. Another application أو another example for inertia in the opposite، العكس صحيح. Look at this picture. What happened? Here, passenger in the bus, when the bus suddenly move, the bus firstly in rest state. But when the bus suddenly move, you will notice that they move backward they move backward. Why? Why passenger move backward? The same in our previous example. When bus sudden move, a force of inertia appears in the form of rushing passenger backward. Why? Why passenger rush backward? To resist the sudden motion. So keeping the state of rest for passenger, keeping the state of rest. Okay, and we also have a questions here. When I ask give reason, rushing passenger backward when bus suddenly move. Why? And we will say due to the inertia force that maintains the state of rest. اوكي، يبقى يعني الكلام كده سريعا فهم بقى. اللي انت دلوقتي انت ايه اللي هيخلي انت راكب العربيه وانت العربيه واقفه ما فيهاش اي حاجه، او راكب باص والعربيه ما اتحركتش او الباص واقف، مره واحده اتحرك السواق بيك، ايه اللي يحصل؟ تلاقي نفسك جسمك رجع لورا، راشت باكورد. ليه انت جسمك رجع لورا؟ اللي في اللحظه دي الانرشيا بتظهر، وبتظهر بشكل اللي انت جسمك يرجع لورا، الموف باكورد. ليه؟ عشان تحافظ على الستيت بتاعتك الاولانيه اللي هي الستيت اوف ريست. اوكي، اندرستاند؟ تمام. I have another example. Look at this picture. A rushed football player forward and fell to the ground when he has falls made during the run. ايه هنا اللي يخلي الفوتبول player fall in the ground؟ هناك نفس الانسر اللي قلناها، وفي حاله الستيت بتاعته الموشن ستيت، والانرشيا فورس هتعمل ايه؟ هتعمل try to keep the motion، يبقى هتعمل ايه؟ تخليه move forward. يبقى الانسر اللي سالنا ليه rush forward player why؟ هنقول due to the inertia force. ليه؟ to keep the state of motion. تمام كده؟ طيب. So we will back again to our definition. What's meant by inertia? I start with activity and then I want you to conclude the definition. What's meant by inertia? Inertia is a property of an object to resist the change of its phase from rest to motion in a regular speed and in a straight line unless an external force acted upon it. And we can simplify this definition, of course. Inertia force originates due to the sudden change in object state from rest to motion or vice versa. So again, inertia originates due to the sudden change in object state from rest to motion or motion to rest. Okay? Okay. تمام. Let's go to the next point. In this part, we have important questions about inertia. He will ask you, give reason. Policemen advise driver to use safety belt in car. Why? And firstly, what's meant by safety belt? Safety belt اللي هو بالآخر كده يا جماعة حزام الأمان. ايه هو بقى السيفتي بيلت؟ safety belt work on stopping the action of inertia or force of inertia. Why? Why to not injure or hurt passenger when sudden change in motion. يبقى برضه الانسر بتاع الكويشنز دوت ايه؟ give reason بتاع policeman advise driver to use safety belt. هتقول to work on stopping the force of inertia and not to hurt passenger. تقدر ايه؟ تقف لحد هنا. تمام. Back to our lesson. Second part in our lesson is the second type of the force originated due to the motion. The force originated due to the motion, second type, is a friction force. Before we know the meaning of friction force, we will do some activity. Try to push a pole in a ground and leave it for a while. What happens? The pole will slow down until it stops. What is the reason of stopping and slowing the pole? It is the friction force that coming between the pole and the ground, and it is acting in the opposite direction of the motion of the pole. Okay, back to our definition. I want to know what's meant by friction force, and this is important questions in the exam. Friction force occurs during the motion between the object and the surrounding media, and this media may be gas as air, solid as ground, liquid as water. I have another definition. What is friction force? Like in your book, it is a force of resistance against moving to be established between the surface of a moving object and the media in contact with it. And you can simplify this definition by it is a force originated between two objects in a motion state, and this force slows down the object during motion. Okay. Okay. I have important questions in this part. When he asks you, give reason. Once you use the brake for moving bicycle, its speed decreases gradually until it stops. Why when you use a brake, the speed of bicycle decreases due to the friction force coming between the bicycle tire and the brake. This is a friction force lead to decreasing the speed of bicycle until the bicycle stops. So I can notice some relation between friction force and speed. There is inverse relationship between friction force and speed. This means that when the speed of object increases, the friction force decrease and the vice versa. Okay, understand? Let's go to the next point. I want from you to know what is the benefits and harm of friction force. Benefit of friction force, we have many benefits. Like number one, it prevents feet from slipping on the road. Prevent your foot from slipping down on the road due to the friction between shoes and the ground. The friction force helps stop and start the car motion due to the friction force between car tire and brake, and it moves the car due to the friction force between car tire and the ground. Help in burning the match. Okay. There is a friction force between burning stick and the matchbox. Okay, lead to lighting the match. The second part, I have also important questions here. I have an important questions about the benefit of friction force. Give reason. The car tires are covered with a very coarse substance. Coarse means rough. Why? To increase the friction force that helps to move the car. To increase the friction force that helps to move and stop the car. Second part, harms of friction. Friction causes a great loss of mechanical energy because this energy changes into heat one. This means moving parts of machine above each other, it converts or change mechanical or kinetic energy into heat one, and this heat energy or this heat make damage or erosion of machine. So a lot of money is wasted. Wasted. This is the harms of friction force. And how we overcome this harms? By lubricant and oiling machine over time or by time. So when he asked you lubricating and oiling machine, why? هتقول ايه بقى? You will answer to decrease friction force between the part of machine. Lubricant and oil adding to machine to decrease friction force. Okay. Okay. Second part of a combined force to motion, force inside living organism. Force inside living organism. The R force inside living organism help to maintain the change that take place or occur within the living organism and maintain its vitality and survival. Okay. Okay. Next slide. Example of force inside living organism like heart muscle contraction and relaxation, pulse inside blood vessel. This force cause motion, and force inside living organism from force cause motion. So I have an important questions. The blood is pumped all over the body. Blood move and pumped all over the body. What is the reason of pumping or motion of blood over the body? It is the heart muscle contraction and relaxation. Okay. Third type of force inside living organism, like liquid transport through pores and the walls of the cell from lower concentration to higher concentration. for contraction and relaxation of muscle to move the body organ.